Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of Beyond the Breed. This episode is about the Nihon Ken, which basically just means Japanese dog. We'll be talking about the native Japanese dogs, the 6 native Japanese dogs. There's other Japanese dogs, but we'll only be discussing the native ones. But before we get started, let's start with some housekeeping. A reminder that these are my opinion, and I usually don't provide facts unless I know them to be accurate. If I say something incorrect, feel free to correct me politely in the comments, and I will clear it up in the next episode. Any negative comments I will delete, and I'm supposed to start also with an update about what we're doing. So here at Casa Anderson, we have had a litter of smoky puppies. They were sired by Ike, my West Siberian Laika. They're now 3 weeks old, and they're very, very cute. They're big. They're very large puppies. I don't know that we've done weights to compare to the other litters yet, but they're big. That doesn't mean they'll be big adults, though. We also have that litter of Dogo that I mentioned in the last episode. They'll be leaving next week, I believe. Or no, this weekend. They're adorable and stinky and eat a lot, but they're cute pups. It's a nice litter. It's a repeat, so that's that Dogo litter is a repeat, and the previous litters have been really nice. This is the 3rd time it's been repeated, and the last time. But anyways, moving on to our topic. I'll start by introducing the breeds. First, let's do a little lesson in Japanese, I guess. The word ken, in this case, stands for dog. In Japanese, ken can mean lots of different things, but in this case, it means dog. The word inu also means dog. So Shiba Inu is Shiba dog, and Shikoku Ken is Shikoku dog. In America, feel free to call them, Shikoku dogs. You don't have to say Shikoku Ken. You can also just call them Shikokus, but I tend to pronounce the names as they're pronounced in their native country, or as best as I can. So you'll notice me saying Inu and Ken. So the word, or the term, Nihon Ken means Japanese dog, essentially. There are 6 native Japanese breeds. We'll start largest and go to smallest. The largest is the Akita Inu, which comes from Akita in Japan. They're the largest of the breeds, and they are traditionally a hunting breed, or at least they come from the Matakai Inu. I hope I pronounced that correctly, which basically is a hunting dog that was famously used in Akita region. And then they kind of were moved over to be used for fighting more than hunting. Today, I don't think that the Akita is fought very often in Japan, if at all, and it's certainly not hunt at all there. Hunted at all there. So then we'll move on to the Kishu Ken. The Kishu Ken is a hunting breed. It comes from Kishu region and was primarily used for boar. However, in Japan nowadays, it's also the go-to Nihon Ken breed for hunting bear. Having said that, don't think that there's very many people hunting the Japanese breeds in Japan. There's not very many. So, the Western breeds are used more than the Japanese breeds over there at this point. So don't think that they're used heavily for hunting bear over there. And then we have the Shikoku Ken, which is from the Shikoku region, also called Kochi. and that's where the Tosa Inu came from. The Shikoku is actually the foundation breed for the Tosa Inu, which is interesting if you look at the two breeds. The Tosa Inu is not a native Japanese breed because it was created from Western breeds. That's why it's not in the list of the 6 recognized native breeds. The Shikoku is an energetic and fun dog. All of the ones I've owned have made really great family companions, and they can be a little bit dog aggressive when they're younger, but usually they grow out of that. I should back up to the Kishu and say that the Kishu is also a great family dog in my experience. I've known of just a few issues where they're not been good with children. All the ones I've owned have been amazing with our daughter. They are very clean. They're very quiet. Well, most are very quiet. You know, your mileage may vary with all of this, but the Kishu is one of my favorite of the Nihon Ken breeds, because they are quiet and clean. However, they can be rather same-sex aggressive, and so that's something that you need to watch out for with them. But like the Shikoku, they tend to grow out of that. They mature out of it, which is nice. For me, the Kishu is a little bit stronger nerved and more outgoing than the Shikoku. The Shikoku tends to start, in my opinion, a little introverted and then grow to be an extrovert later in life. So let's move on to the Hokkaido. The Hokkaido Ken or Hokkaido Inu. They are from the Hokkaido region and were traditionally famous for hunting bear, because there's a lot of bear and very large bear up in Hokkaido. However, they're rarely used for hunting these days, unfortunately. They're a goofy dog breed. They make a lot of funny noises. They have a lot of energy. They like to, they have a lot of commentary, a lot of things to say. One thing I do like about the Hokkaido is their stickiness. When you're out in the bush with them, in the woods, backcountry, whatever you want to call it, they tend to stick close to you, and that's nice. I've had mixed experiences with them with children. I think if socialized well with children, they're probably okay, but one should definitely understand that going into owning one. Next on the list is the Kai Ken. The Kai Ken comes from Yamanashi. Yamanashi is kind of right next to Chiba, and it's at the base of Mount Fuji. It's an interesting area because it's drier than most of Japan because it's in a rain shadow from Mount Fuji. So a lot of times if you see the shows for the Kai Ken, they're in this kind of dry area where there's a lot of dirt. That's kind of irrelevant. But anyways, the Kai Ken was used for hunting. Their primary game was kamashika, which is like a Japanese mountain goat antelope thing. I think over there they're called deer, but they do have other types of deer in Japan that the Kai would also pursue. They were also used for hunting boar as well. And there's still a few people in Japan hunting Kai Ken, but they have kind of moved from the hunting world to be more of a working dog in that, for example, they were used by the Hokkaido University for raccoon dog eradication and control and things like that. So and I think there's some use for search and rescue over there. So they've kind of taken that role. The Kai Ken is a wonderful family dog, and they bond very strongly with usually one particular owner, but certainly with a family. They're an interesting breed in that they are they're more like a wild dog in that they bond to their handler and not necessarily their territory. Most dogs bond to their territory and their family, but A Kai is pretty comfortable as long as they're with their person. Um, excuse, Picasso is eating a box behind me. And they're a brindle dog. They're the only dog, the only Nihon Ken that is brindle. I mean, there's brindle versions of the other ones, like the Hokkaido and the Akita, but they should always be brindle. The Kaiken should always be brindle. They come in red brindle, what's called medium brindle, and black brindle. So the Japanese words for that is Akatora, Chutora, and Koratora. And to back up to the Shikoku, they come in 3 colors as well. They come in red sesame, sesame, and black sesame. So that would be Akagoma, Goma, and Kurogoma. The Hokkaido comes in all kinds of colors, even brindle, black and tan, white, red. They come in lots of colors. The Kishu is most well known for being. Sorry, this is kind of out of order. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so forgive me. The Kishu is known for being white, but they also have Goma. There are Goma Kishu out there. They're called Yushoku Kishu, colored Kishu, and they look a bit like a Shikoku. Excuse me. But are not quite as refined in their Goma. They come in all kinds of Goma colors. There's dark ones, light ones. I think there's even Brindle Kishu out there and Pinto Kishu. But I do not think that the Pinto and the Brindle are recognized as Kishu in Nippon. I don't think they can be registered. I'm not sure about that, though. I'll let a Kishu expert answer that question. So, I think that covers the three... I think that covers the 6 native breeds as far as what they are. So let's move on to some of the history of the breeds. It's an interesting thing that before World War II, the Nihon Ken was seen as, well, first of all, it was a landrace breed that was divided up into these geographic areas. Japan is interesting because it has these huge metropolises that are isolated from each other by, pretty vast, for an island, landmass that's more or less sparsely inhabited, I'll say. There's mountains, very rugged terrain, and so because of that, and then there's of course there are islands. So because of that, the various breeds, even though they were all of the same landrace, were pretty isolated from each other. Having said that, there was certainly crossing going on among the breeds before the formation of the Preservation Society, which I'll get to in a minute. So pre-World War, they were seen as they were a land race of dogs, and they were kind of seen as a nuisance, not a nonsense, a nuisance to the Japanese people. And at that time, the Japanese people were kind of embracing Western culture a little more, so there were a lot more Western breeds coming in. So, the popular breeds over there were German Shepherds and things like that, and not necessarily their native breeds. After World War II, there was this cultural preservation time period in Japan where the Japanese people moved to preserve a lot of their traditions. And one of those things was their traditional native Japanese breeds, Japanese dog. And so at that point, they formed the Nihon Ken Honsonkai, which is referred to as Nippo. That's the Japanese Preservation Society for all 6 of the native breeds. You'll notice I'm drinking water today because Jen has me on a diet. Not fun. But So they formed this Honzonkai in the effort of preserving the native breeds, and they divided them up into the areas that they were from and essentially named them after those areas, excluding the Shiba, which kind of came from all of Japan. And I'm just really realizing I left the Shiba out of the breed list in the beginning, but that's okay. Everyone knows what a Shiba is at this point. I don't really think I need to get into the details of them. But I apologize to any Shiba fanciers out there. I've owned Shiba, and I've loved Shiba, so it's nothing personal. I don't know that I'll ever own another Shiba, but maybe when I'm old I'll have a Shiba. That might be a good idea. But anyways, well, I am old. When I'm older. When I'm old, I'll own a Shiba. So, so that preservation society was formed to preserve all of the 6 native breeds, and there was a recreation essentially of the breeds at that point because they had been intermixed. And so stewards of the breed combed the different areas of Japan for good examples of the breeds and then brought them into the Nihon Ken Honzonkai and started and wrote a standard based on what you see today essentially, and started refining the breeds based on that. They did a pretty amazing job in a relatively short amount of time. There's an interesting book, I don't remember the name of it at this moment, but it's about the refinement of the Akita after World War II, that documents how they used, how much work went into refining their look and the standard and the breed in general. So after the formation of the Nihon Ken Honzonkai, several of the breeds spun off into their own preservation society. And so the Akita had the Akita Inu Honzonkai, which is still around today, and I believe most of the Akita are registered through them and not through Nippo. Or maybe they're both, I'm not sure on that, but you have the Kaiken Aigokai, which is, I know for sure, is the primary registrar for the Kaiken. There are some Kaiken that are registered with Nippo, but it's like, 1 in 100 type of situation. Most of them are registered to the Kaiken Aigokai. The Kaiken Aigokai was formed because there was a disagreement essentially on the size of the Kaiken. The Kaiken really fits between the Shikoku and the Shiba in size, and Nippo wanted to put the Kaiken in the medium size category, which would make it the same size as a Shikoku, which the fancy didn't agree with, and so the Kaiken Aigokai was formed with their standard. And I love the Kaiken Aigokai standard because it's very vague, and so it allows for a lot of diversity and variety in the Kaiken, which is something you don't see often in dog breeds these days. Certainly not back then. And then with the Kishu, there's a Kishu Ken Honzonkai. It was shut down for a little while, and now they're trying to bring that back. So I think currently most of them are registered with Nippo, but maybe the Kishu Ken Honzonkai will come back. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't really have an opinion. The Hokkaido has the Hokkaido Ken Honzonkai, and they also have the Hokkaido Ken Koyokai. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Koyokai. And the Hokkaido is kind of weird in that they have those 2 preservations, and they both have differing standards. So one of the Hokkaido Ken Honzonkai, I believe, is the one that kind of has a smaller standard for the Hokkaido, where the Hokkaido is a smaller dog, while the Hokkaido Ken Koyokai is a bit larger. And then there's the Shiba Inu Honzonkai for the Shiba. They broke off of Nippo to create the Jomon Shiba. And I believe there's a couple other variations of the Shiba as well, but I don't really feel like getting into those. again, no disrespect to the Shiba. It's just there's so much information out there on the Shiba, and so little information out there on the 4 medium-sized breeds that I don't really think it's necessary that we go into detail on the Akita or the Shiba. I'm going to focus more on the medium-sized breeds, the Kai, the Kishu, the Hokkaido, and Shikoku. So there's the Shikoku. The Shikoku is the only one that doesn't have a Honzon Kai. So all of them are registered through Nippo. There was an attempt at creating the Shikoku Ken Honzon Kai, but there wasn't enough clout or interest to get that going. Nowadays, now we'll move on to current trends. Nowadays, these breeds are really becoming refined. Even in the course that I've been involved in the breeds, which, is like 15 years or something, I can see a difference in the Shikoku from when I started to now. The Shikoku's muzzle was longer and they had larger ears. Now they have these cute little ears that are kind of forward and they have a shorter muzzle. It's, it's the same thing as it is in every other country. It's popularity in the shows and popular sires kind of drive the look of the dogs over time, and they get refined. The hope is that they don't get refined into something extreme, which unfortunately I think some of the Japanese breeds are kind of going that route, but hopefully they'll never end up something like a French Bulldog or something like that, something real extreme. I always pick on the French Bulldog. I don't really mean to. I actually love French Bulldogs. They're a really great example of a breed bred to extremes. Most of the Bulldogs are. Anyways, back on subject. The Akita has, been refined pretty heavily to have that like geisha girl look and very forward ears. The Kai Ken has been refined, but not as severely, and that's because of what I mentioned before, is the Kai Ken Aigo Kai has that kind of vague standard that they breed the Kai Ken to, which is nice. The Kishu hasn't changed all that much. I think that they've become, and I don't mean any offense to any of the Kishu lovers out there, a little more feminine over the years. They used to be a little blockier and masculine looking. Maybe closer to like what the older Akita was. But nowadays they seem to be a little more refined and pretty and cute. Which, I'm not saying I don't like that. I'm not saying I like it either. It's just a trend. I have really only owned Kishu from kind of prestigious hunting lines, with the exception of my Yoshoku female that I had, and so I tend to look at the Kishu from that rose-colored glasses, those hunting-colored glasses, so to speak. I'm not a show person when it comes to that breed. The Hokkaido has done a pretty good job of staying the same, except for the fact that there's a split in that in the preservations, which cause the breed to go 2 different directions in size and style. All right, so now let's talk about how you can help, and let's talk about why you should help the Nihon Ken breeds. First and foremost, they're rare breeds. In some cases, they're incredibly rare breeds. For example, the Shikoku is doing quite well in Europe and America, but is essentially dying off in Japan, which is sad. And that has a lot to do with the breeders of the Shikoku are aging and passing on, and there's no one there to keep up the work. So, in the Shikoku world, importing from Japan is valuable because that shows interests in the breed in the motherland, in the homeland, and will entice people to continue to breed them over there. The Kishu is, the the opposite problem. There's plenty of them in Japan, but there's very few in America. There's basically only 2 breeders in America, and one of them is very set in her ways and isn't interested in importing from Japan and only wants to breed and inbreed her dogs, while the other one, CJ, in Oregon, is working very hard to keep diversity in a very inbred population. And there's not a lot of demand in America for whatever reason for the Kishu, which is a shame because they're really quite a nice breed. They can be a little difficult, but all of the Japanese breeds can be a little difficult in my opinion. Most breeds can be a little difficult in one way or another, to be honest, especially rare ones. But and so if you want to help the Kishu, a good way to help the Kishu is to offer to be a breeder or to be a co-owner. You know, someone who is willing to work with a breeder and keep their dog intact. That's huge because as breeders we can't keep all the dogs that we want to keep. That would be hoarding. And so we have to place them. And if we can place them in cooperative homes, that is just perfect, especially in a rare breed like the Kishu. Same applies to the Shikoku as well. But I think that they're a little more popular, so they probably don't need it quite as much. But the Kai Ken, you know, my wife and I worked really hard with the Kai Ken breed to bring to bring dogs over from Japan to diversify the population here in America and to kind of close that. Or I don't like to say close the gap, to build the bridge between Japan and the North American population. And I think we did a really good job. But we're out of the game now. We're not breeding them anymore. And there seems to be now a split in the Kai Ken with 2 different competing clubs. And there's other breeders that have fallen out of breeding. And so, you know, the Kai Ken needs help too. And it needs help in the form of cooperative homes and breeders and people who are willing to, you know, take them to dog shows and do that type of stuff. You know, that can go a long way. The Hokkaido, I think we just have poor Lindsay over there in Washington breeding the Hokkaido all by herself. She has some really nice dogs, and you know, obviously she needs people who want to own the breed and are interested in helping out with the breed. Forgive me, there may be another breeder in California of the Hokkaido. I'm not sure, but anyways, the point is there's very few breeders and a very small population, smaller than the Kishu population. So that's another breed that you can help out with. The Akita and Shiba, you know, I'm sure they need help in their own way, but I'm not going to speak to that. Their population is much larger than the other ones. And so now here's some websites that you can check out. First and foremost, JapaneseDogExport.com. My friend Shigs over in Japan is an excellent, wonderful human being. I consider him one of my favorite people in the world. He's very knowledgeable on Japanese dogs, very honest, and if you wanted to import a Japanese dog, that he is the man to talk to. His efforts have kind of grown alongside my efforts over the years, and he's done a great job. So definitely check out Shigs at JapaneseDogExport.com. And then for Kishu, the KishuClub.com is the Kishu Club in America. The Kaiken, the AKC Kaiken Club is kaisociety.org. But then there's a second club called kaiclub.org, which is primarily over on the West Coast in Oregon, Washington, in that area. I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but that's where most of the members seem to be. if you want to help out, if you're interested in AKC showing and being involved in that, definitely check out kaisociety.org. If you're over in Oregon, Washington area and want to meet some Kai and hang out with some Kai people, kaiclub.org is another one. And then there's hokkaidoken.org, which is the Hokkaido club here in America. It's run by Lindsay, who I mentioned earlier. I hope it's still run by Lindsay. I hope I'm not misspeaking here, but anyways, you can check them out there. And then there's the shikokuklub.com, which has members from all around the United States, and they can help you. All of these clubs that I mentioned can help you get in contact with breeders and find puppies and educate you and need you and your help in the club. And they're all great people, so you should definitely check them out. So I think that pretty much concludes my Nihon Ken podcast. I could have probably rambled on and on about them for a long time, but I wanted to keep this kind of high level, just kind of give you a taste, and then later, if I decide to drill down more into a specific breed, like I will do one on the Kai Ken, I'll go into more detail about them. The next topic that I will be discussing is the guard dog paradox. That will hopefully come in a few weeks. I apologize for how long it took me to get this one out. I was a little bit under the weather, and then the weather in general wasn't great here, so it just didn't happen until now. But the guard dog paradox is essentially going to be discussing the realities of owning a guard dog and what that means for your lifestyle if you want one. And so that's it. Thanks for watching.